I'm Ed Amoroso from Tag Cyber, and I'm here with my friend Roi Cohen, who serves as the Vice President of Research for a company called Vicarius. Well, welcome.
Hi, Ed.
And I said Vicarius, but I have a feeling you say it a little differently. How would you pronounce Vicarius?
Well, in Hebrew it sounds a bit differently. It's Vicarius.
It sounds better that way. I botched it with my New Jersey accent. But welcome. It's great to see you.
Thanks.
Hey, quickly, tell us a little bit about what the company does.
So Vicarius is a cybersecurity company that deals in the changes of vulnerability management and patch management in companies. Mm-hmm. We have developed an automated solution to handle vulnerabilities end-to-end from the moment of discovery through deciding which ones matter and the fixing.
You must be pretty busy, right? There's a zillion vulnerabilities floating around.
Yeah, there are a zillion, but we can make that effective for companies. This is what we help with.
That's good. Now, you were telling me about this mind shift that you guys see happening between the way people currently handle vulnerabilities and the way you think it should be done. Share with us how that mind shift goes.
So we need to speak a bit before like how companies today handle vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
I spoke with I think a few hundreds of CISOs all over the world, Fortune 100, and really all over. And the process looks like finding vulnerabilities is usually through a scan. So you get a report containing, I don't know, like tens of thousands of issues you need to handle with. Then usually a person needs to go through, to do marker, decide which ones are really relevant for him to fix. And once you curated the list, you need to find the solution and send for the IT in order for them to treat that.
Very manual process, is that what you're saying?
It's quite manual, and then it's also prone for mistakes, because imagine you now go through the report and then you send for the IT, sometimes they miss stuff, you need to send back, another scan.
Right.
So, yeah.
And as I recall, it can be kind of an expensive process too. And there's all the hands involved and so on. So you guys have improved on that. Where do you see that shifting to?
So I think the market goes towards automation, AI, big data. So you have a lot of issues bombarding you. Every month, thousands of vulnerabilities are being bombarded on the footstep of companies all over the world.
Yeah.
And they need to make a decision. Okay, what do we do with that? How we fix it? Which one we should prioritize? And today it's not feasible for a person to make the decision on its own for each and every single vulnerability he encounters. Mm-hmm. So our system is really helping companies in order to focus on the ones who matter. We take a lot of time and effort to really understand the business impact. So our system is capable of telling a company, hey, this is a production machine. You should be focusing your efforts around that and fix that before 1,000 other issues.
Yeah. Now, there's a multi-step sort of methodology that you guys have embedded in what you do that includes fixing. Tell me how that works. Like, what do you see as kind of the steps that people follow using your platform?
So we kind of went along the process companies doing today, and we automated this entire thing. We streamlined that. So the process of finding the vulnerabilities is the first step. So the system is capable of picking all the issues you have open, and it's being done in real time. So there are no gaps or no missing spots. On top of that, we can also proactively find new vulnerabilities. We don't only rely on known databases of issues. We can find unknown threats. Once we have this big list of issues you are facing, we can reduce it to the ones who are most critical. We speak about 90 to 95% of reduction. So we focus on the 5% which matter. Yeah. And afterwards, we can also fix the issues automatically.
What do you mean by known versus unknown? How does that, what's the difference?
So it's CVE, it's an article stating how something can get abused or hijacked. There's a standard for that. Today there are roughly about 140,000 known vulnerabilities in the world. But the fact that something does not have a CVE doesn't necessarily mean it's safe and secure. And what a system does is kind of follows the process of hackers and tries to find inner threats in the assembly lines, if there are inner threats inside an application, and then we can trigger a company about that and tell them, look, this is where you should focus on, and at least you should know it exists, the visibility part.
It must be hard to do that, like with a piece of proprietary code. You must have to have some smarts in the software to detect those kinds of problems.
Yeah,
how did that, you guys must have a lot of smart people in the company, probably a lot of engineers working there.
So we are and deeply, a lot of engineers in the company, having all sorts of backgrounds in this industry. Countless of hours are allocated for this kind of unique technology in order to find these inner threats. We are very much tech savvy. Our team is really a problem solver. There's nothing they cannot encounter. And yeah, we have a strong team.
Are proprietary applications a little more difficult? I would think they would be.
Definitely. Look, eventually we treat every application like a black box. We have no prior knowledge. It could be your Microsoft SQL Server, and it could be something you have developed back home. It doesn't really matter. So our system picks the relevant binaries which are associated with the application, and then they are getting disassembled. So we go through the assembly lines and we pick like pieces of code which may get compromised. This eventually turns to the system. You can see a report of the issues may be containing inside.
You have to reverse engineer the binary?
Yeah.
Is that how accurate is that reverse engineering? I would imagine it must be hard to do.
So we are, after now we close the funding round, we are allocating a lot of effort around the optimizing the results around that. Eventually, we took a technique of comparing pieces of code with past exploited issues, and we tried to project that to things which haven't been hacked.
And do you go further than the assembly language? Do you continue the reverse engineering, or where do you do your analysis typically?
So the analysis is being done naturally on the server side. We cannot do reversing on each and every machine which contains vulnerable code. We are pretty quick, so we speak about a few seconds per executable. So once we pick an executable, usually an application takes about, I would say, a minute or so to completely reverse and give you a result.
That's exciting. Now you guys spent, because we met last year, you guys spent 2019 really digging into the product, didn't you? Last year was a tech year for your team. Tell us about that. And now you're kind of in the process of unveiling and announcing, and I know you've opened an office here in New York, but tell us about last year. You guys were really pretty deep in the development work, huh?
Yeah, so 2019 was deeply into development and really polishing the product and, picking the feedback from the market, from CISOs, from partners, from channels, like everyone who has any part of the chain of solving the vulnerability challenges. And this eventually came into the, into the product, into the design, into the process, into the technology. And we feel we have a solid solution. We already have customers who enjoy it worldwide. And 2019 is really the year we want to introduce this solution to the world. This is also why we're here, and we just launched a New York office, and we're growing.
Well, that's wonderful. Any particular sectors that you think will be more important than others? I'm guessing, I mean, everybody's got software, but you think maybe critical infrastructure might be the most important, or what are you guys thinking?
I think vulnerabilities is like a global issue, a global challenge for to deal with. You need to, in any industry, you need to find the vulnerabilities and to fix them. That being said, there are some industries which are a bit more mature. So they are more aware of the risks, and they already got some programs in place. So financial, critical infrastructure, all sorts of sectors are relevant and are actively serving as customers for us.
Well, one other thing I always liked about when you first showed me what you were doing, seems like it complements other things pretty nicely. Like you can have a whole software vulnerability program and introduce what you're doing. Doesn't seem like it's going to collide with much. A lot of things we see in cybersecurity really do collide. You see a product being introduced and you go, well, there's 5 or 6 or 7 other things that might collide, but this really seems like something that would be very natural to introduce to any environment relying on software. Does that make sense? I would think that's a
good
big
point.
Plus for selling.
That's a good point. Eventually, we have customers who benefit the different parts of the system on their own. So some clients really like the fact that we can tell them, okay, we have a lot of vulnerabilities, let's focus on the ones who are most critical. Right. Others use us for the protection, which be either the patching, which is automated, or our own technology, which is virtual patching. Yeah. So different customers use different parts. Some of them use all, some of them use others, but yeah, we can complement the existing process.
What percentage would you say, or guess, are using DevOps? Like you mentioned, you've spoken to a lot of different CISOs. Do you see more or less the industry having made the transition to an automated DevOps lifecycle for software?
Definitely. You see also companies which you will not consider them as an R&D company. They become such because even even banks, financial, whoever, they got an internal development team. And this team also is deeply, into latest trends, automation, DevOps, CI/CD. So yeah, I think most of the companies already got some entity of DevOps inside. Which
reinforces what we started with, which is you can't have a long manual task in a DevOps environment. It's possible. It has
Yeah.
to be automated. So I have a feeling you guys are going to have a successful year. I mean, I like the concept. I like the automation. And it seems like a nice, clean concept. I hope you guys do well. Now, what's on the horizon? What sorts of things are you looking at? Any special techniques that you're looking at? You head up the research. So what do you see coming down the pike for your company?
So soon enough, we'll be introducing the first patches protection for Linux, which is a technology that does not exist anywhere in the world.
That sounds good.
We are going to introduce, as we talked before, the AI part is going to play a key component for our product. So better finding vulnerabilities, new techniques which we will be able to cover.
Is that because the hackers are using AI? You have to line up with that, or there's probably some algorithmic benefit to using machine learning or other artificial techniques. So does that sound right?
Definitely. So
Yeah.
we see attackers all over now harness the power of AI and automation in order to harvest new vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
The number, at least the known vulnerabilities, which is only the tip of the iceberg, it's somewhere around 1,100 new vulnerabilities every month. Again, the tip of the iceberg. A lot of stuff being resolved before. And this is also as a result of automation for finding vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm. So you're here in New York now, and you guys are ready to unveil for clients. If they're interested in contacting you, is the website generally the easiest place for them to be in touch with someone?
Yeah, we are easy to reach. So the website, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever. Yeah.
Or personal visit in New York City now.
Definitely.
You'll probably be doing a lot of traveling back and forth.
I will.
Well, you're always welcome here. You
Thanks,
can always
Ed.
use our offices. And it was great to welcome you here to our studio. And I wish you nothing but the best. We think very highly of the work you do. Great.
Appreciate it.
Well,
Thanks,
welcome.
Ed.
And thank you. And we'll see you next time.